What is up, Scream Team? Zach Cherry here, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you my predictions for who I think is going to survive, die, and turn out to be the Fisherman killer in the upcoming I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot. I already did a similar predictions video for Scream 7, so make sure to check that one out too, and like and subscribe for even more horror movie content like this. What's interesting about this franchise is that it's never really been a whodunit, at least not in the traditional sense. The first movie certainly had whodunit elements, but just with the reveal of the killer by the end, it wasn't really a character that we were introduced to at any point during the bulk of the movie, so it was kind of just like, yay, and here's the killer. The sequel was more of just like the same guy coming after her, so there wasn't really a mystery, even though there was sort of a reveal of someone else in that movie. And then the third movie, which nobody ever really talks about because it's kind of been disowned, it was the same killer but coming back as a ghost or supernatural spectral figure spirit thing. There was a television series as well, but that really doesn't have anything to do with this chronology. So this is kind of the first time we're embarking in more of like the Scream territory here, where we've got a big cast of characters and the idea is that one of them, or perhaps more, is going to turn out to be the killer. So what I'm going to try to do here is line everything up to best match where I think things are going to fall. Categories are pretty simple: fisherman, killer, survivors, who's gonna die, NPCs, just the people who are completely irrelevant, and then other, which, you know, I'll get to as we make our way through the cast here. But starting off, our big ticket here is Julie James, Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, who's in the first two movies. Wouldn't that be a novelty if she turned out to be the killer? I can't see any reason why. I feel like this movie is going to mirror Scream 5 in a lot of ways. It already seems that way through the marketing, and even the plot synopsis itself is pretty much like, it feels very much like a remake in a way, but we're having legacy characters come back and guide the new generation through things. So if things are going to play out the same, which I kind of have a feeling they are, I think that Julie's trajectory here is going to be a lot like Sydney's in Scream 5, so I think that she will survive. Also, apparently Jennifer Love Hewitt has a no-kill clause in her contract or something, or she said that, so it's just one of these things where Julie James will never die. And I believe it. I can't see them killing her off. Can't say the same thing for Freddie Prinze Jr. as Ray Bronson. And just because I feel like we're doing the Scream 5 thing, is that this is going to be a very Dewey-esque situation where he's going to come in and he's going to be like very helpful to a lot of these kids and probably get killed off, you know, like halfway towards the end of the movie. I don't think that him and Julie are like still a couple. It feels like they've kind of grown up. This is like 25 to 30 years later, so things change. People's lives go in different directions. We do know that he's no longer a fisherman, at least I don't think so. He's currently owning and running a bar in Southport. I don't know a lot of details. That's just one of the few things I do know, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, we're going to be seeing the last of Ray this time. Now, getting into the new cast, the first one we have here is Ava Brooks. She's played by Chase Sue Wonders, and one thing that is very clear from not only the marketing, but just even things that have been discussed about this movie officially, this is sort of like keeping in line with the reboot or remake aspect, is that everyone kind of acts as a proxy to a previous existing character. So Ava is sort of like the Jennifer Love Hewitt or the Julie James of this generation. She's just like that character, the one who's sort of the moral compass, or probably has like the most trepidations about what they're doing to cover up this accident. For that reason, like, she is like ostensibly the main character this time around, and I assume like she's going to survive based on that idea as well. That then leaves Madeline Klein, who is playing Danica Richards as sort of the Helen Shivers proxy, and I actually think that, you know, there's going to be some switch ups. We're not going to be doing the same thing that we did in the original, where of course we know that Helen died. I think that Danica will probably survive, and it's going to be a situation where, you know, like the friends, all the mistakes that, a lot of people felt were made with the original, with Helen being killed off, are going to be amended here with this character. Now that brings us to Jonah Hauer-King, who plays Milo Griffin, who I guess is the Ray proxy, and maybe I think that there's a possibility that because of that he could die if, we're gonna have like 2 female survivors rather than a final couple per se. So, I could see a scenario where he survives. I'm gonna put him in die for now. We'll see how I feel towards the end if I want to rearrange anything. But that then leaves Tyreek Withers as Teddy Spencer, who is the Barry Ryan Philippe character. So just, based on that, I think, he's gonna die too. It's probably gonna play out a lot similar to, how we've seen in the past. Now, this is where I think things are kind of suspicious to me, because the original movie was 4 friends who caused this accident and cover it up. This time it's 5. And that brings us to our 5th friend, who is Sarah Pigeon, who is playing the character named Stevie Ward. Now, she's very suspicious to me. I think that she's gonna be the killer. The reason is because it's just like, who is she? She doesn't belong here. We're kind of following a template, or we would be following a template, and now suddenly there's this 5th friend. And I know that there's a lot more teenagers or young adults, whatever the age situation is here, but it just seems very peculiar that there are 5 this time around. We know that she's also an employee of Ray, so presumably she has a close relationship with him. She works at the bar. We've seen the promotional material. She has like the Ray's pub or whatever shirt on. I think that leaves a lot of room for a major betrayal. I don't know what her motive could be. I don't know if like the killer this time around is still connected to Ben Willis, the original killer from the first 2, and I guess the 3rd movie as well. It would seem a little far-fetched if she was like, a descendant. I don't think that there really is going to be a clear-cut connection with the past in terms of like these present characters. It's more of just like a situational similarity, and Julie and Ray are kind of brought in as I guess experts who went through this, even though that seems completely ridiculous because they never really came forward or told anybody about what had happened, at least officially. It is possible that she's just like a psychotic killer and she's using this scenario as an excuse to fulfill some other agenda that she has, but I'm confident that she's gonna be our killer. Now, does that mean that she's working alone, or is there someone else? I don't know. There could be room for that here, especially if they are trying to follow more of a Scream formula. Our next character is Grant Spencer, who's played by Billy Campbell. Grant Spencer is the father of Teddy Spencer. It seems like he's some sort of town official, or at least the mayor of Southport, perhaps. Like we saw him in that scene where Ray comes forward and he's sitting at the table with the chief of police. So it leads me to believe that he is some sort of figure of importance here. I've talked about this in the Scream predictions video. I can't see a scenario where a father would be the killer and the son or daughter wouldn't be. So like if he was to be a killer, I would automatically say that, both him and Teddy were killers. But in this scenario, I think that, he's gonna die. He's, another victim for the body count here. Our next character is Tyler, played by Gabriette, and I'm thinking that she's going to die. I don't really want to delve too much into trailers because it could be misleading, but from everything that we've seen with her, it does seem like more victim territory. And there's a lot of extra kids in this movie, so I feel like they've got to be there so we can have a few extra deaths. The next character is Pastor Judah, played by Austin Nichols. So this is like the priest of Southport. I feel like he is going to be a major red herring who will ultimately die. There's part of me thinks that maybe he's one of the killers with old Stevie here, if there are more than one killer. Interestingly, Austin Nichols is pretty close in age to Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr., so perhaps there is some unfinished business from the past. There's also the allusion to the nightmares that Julie was having in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer with the priest in the confessional booth. I'm thinking he's gonna die though. He's giving me major red herring vibes, and most red herrings end up dying. Next up is Lola Tung playing Maya. I have a feeling that she's perhaps Ava's sister. If that's the case, you know, I could see a scenario where she survives. I mean, in the original I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this is assuming that they are sisters, it was Helen who had the sister with Elsa, and they both got killed off. And I realize, you know, this is a huge reach because I have no idea, but like, would they kill off the main character's sibling, and wouldn't that be part of her trauma? I don't know. I feel like this movie, it's going to be taking a risk. Like, if they kill Ray, I think that it'll still be playing it safe with relatives of the character. So I can see if this is Ava's sister, she's going to survive. Next is Billy, played by Nicolas Chavez. This actor was in that Menendez brothers thing recently. I feel like he could also be a red herring. I don't think that he would be the killer. I can see him being more dead than perhaps Father Judah or Pastor Judah. Maybe he's more of like the Max character from the original, just sort of like the outlier of the group. Either way, I think he's going to die. I hope that there's a lot of kills in this movie. I don't recall there being a whole lot in the first movie, so I'm hoping that this is sort of a way to rectify that, just in terms of like the reboots. Although Scream 5 didn't really have a whole lot of kills in it either, so there's no way of knowing. At this point, with most of the rest of this cast, I have no idea. Just for some clarity, there were a lot more names on IMDb that I did not add to this because they were characters that were just like listed as like tourist or bridal party friend, so I felt that they were just moot. But these are all the characters that I added who had names or were unnamed that seemed like they might be someone. And this is Simone Enan playing Jill. I think that that's just going to be an NPC. I don't know anything about, you know, anything that she could be. We also have Georgia Flood playing Hannah Decker. I think that it's peculiar that she has a full name that's listed, which makes me think that perhaps she's sort of like the Anne Heche character from the original, where they go and look her up and find out some backstory or exposition. Either way, I think that maybe she will be more important, but the Anne Heche character survived the original. She wasn't exactly an NPC, so I mean, let's just put her in die. Like, wishful thinking. I want more deaths. I want more kills in this movie. After that, we have Todd Geibenhain as unknown. There's just no name listed, but there was something suspicious about him not having a name. I thought, you know, perhaps he is the person that they run over at the beginning of the film. We haven't really, you know, narrowed down who that person could be. Obviously, in the original, that was the killer who was not actually dead and came back to go after them. And in this case, you know, per my theory, if Stevie is, they're clearly not running over her because she's with the friend group. So, I mean, I think that, you know, he could be that person, and that means that he's dead. After that, we have Joshua Orpin playing Wyatt. So if you've seen the trailers, this character is clearly shown being attacked brutally. So it seems very apparent that he is going to die. That would be my guess anyway, even if we didn't see that. We know that he is Danica's boyfriend or perhaps fiance or something, and she's looking pretty depressed in every part after that moment in the trailer. So I think that that's something that she is going to be reeling with throughout most of the movie. So yeah, I think he's definitely going to die, especially if the trailer is any indication of that and not being misleading on purpose. After that, we have Nicole Chapman as Karina. Again, no idea. I think that she'll be an NPC. Then we have Elijah Calderon as Jacob. He could be like a relative. Maybe he's Milo's younger brother or something like he looks at, but you know, either way, I think NPC. So now this is where things are going to be a little bit interesting because we have some rumor cast / like, you know, nothing concrete. But the first one is Muse Watson as Ben Willis. At this point, Muse is in his 70s, so I think that it would be very unlikely that he would be revealed as the Fisherman killer again. And then there's also the fact that, you know, even though these movies end in like, you know, could he be alive or could he be dead, he was more or less gunned down and fell into a grave. So I don't think that he's actually going to be alive and bumping anyone off. I already said that I don't think he's going to have any affiliation with like this new generation of killers or whatever. But you know, it could be possible that we see like a nightmare situation, because we have seen Julie James have nightmares about him many times over, and in those scenarios he makes a cameo appearance. So it's very likely that still 30 years later Julie is still having nightmares about him. So I can see a scenario where he will be in the movie. Then we have Brandy playing Carla Wilson. The director did tease that she could be in it, or there was going to be some sort of either mention or maybe appearance of her. Nothing has been official of her being cast in it. So I think that in some form or another, Carla is going to like spiritually be in this movie. Hopefully we do have an appearance by Brandy, but I'm going to include her in this anyway under other. And then lastly, that brings us to Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Helen Shivers. Now we know that Helen is dead from the first movie. In spite of multiple efforts, Sarah Michelle Gellar has refused to come back and play Helen by stating that she is a dead character and therefore cannot come back to life in any of these movies. However, we do know that Sarah Michelle Gellar was in Australia on the set while they were shooting, and even though she is the wife of Freddie Prinze Jr. and she would have been there, there's possibly, you know, I could see her maybe having some sort of cameo in the movie. I don't think that that means she's alive, but her being on set is kind of suspicious to me. So just in case, I want to throw her in there because she might very well have a role in this movie. Now, looking at everything here, if there is two killers, for some reason, I'm thinking it's going to be the priest. That's what my gut is telling me, but I'm gonna say that it's just gonna be Stevie. And if there is another killer, I wasn't completely right, but at least I was close enough. I put it out there. Regardless, I hope that I'm completely wrong in my predictions, so at least I can go into the movie surprised. If you want to make your own predictions tier list, I will put the link to this one in the descriptions down below. I want to thank my Patreon supporters, Tony Connolly, William H. Cleveland, Leslie Owen, Jason, and Taylor McCampbell Navarro. If you want to see even more horror-related content, including my Scream 7 predictions, you can click on either one of these videos over here. Until next time, I've been Zach Cherry, and I'll be right back.